Here's a question most people never actually ask. When does this car stop costing me money? Not the monthly payment, not the down payment, the whole thing start to finish. When does it end if you lease? The honest answer is, it doesn't, not unless you decide to stop, and most people never do. That's not a judgment, it's just what the numbers show, and once you see it clearly, you can't unsee it. Let me walk you through what leasing actually is. Not the sales pitch version, the real version. When you lease a car, you're paying for the portion of the car's value that disappears while you're driving it. That's depreciation. A $32,000 car loses roughly $12,000 to $14,000 in value over 3 years. Your lease payment is essentially covering that loss, plus a financing charge, plus the dealer's margin. You're not building toward ownership, you're absorbing the steepest part of the depreciation curve, and then handing the car back right before it levels off. That's the part most people don't know. Depreciation doesn't drop at a steady rate, it front loads. The first 3 years are brutal. Years 4, 5, 6, a car loses value much more slowly. When you lease on a 3-year cycle, you're always sitting in the expensive zone, you're always paying the premium, you're never in the part where holding actually pays off. Buying works differently, yes. You pay more upfront, yes. Your monthly payment is higher, but you're buying through the steep part and coming out the other side into the flat part, where the car still works. The payments stop, and your cost of ownership drops dramatically. Let's get specific. Say the car is $32,000. You finance it over 5 years at 7% interest with $3,000 down. Your monthly payment comes out to around $575 over 5 years. You pay roughly $37,500 total including interest. You now own a car worth somewhere between $10,000 and $13,000 depending on mileage and condition. Your effective out-of-pocket cost, after subtracting that remaining value, is around $25,000 to $27,000. Now lease the same car, 3-year lease, $2,500 at signing, $320 a month total cost over 3 years, roughly $14,000. Then you hand it back, then you do it again, another $14,000 over 6 years, you've spent $28,000 and you own nothing on the surface. That gap looks small, but that's only 6 years. The buyer is now in month 61. Their payment is zero. They're spending maybe $100 to $150 a month on maintenance, oil changes, tires, the occasional repair. The leaser still at $320 every month. Indefinitely run it out to year 10. The buyer has spent around $37,500 on the loan, maybe another $10,000 on maintenance. Call it $47,000 total, but they've had a car for 10 years and still have an asset sitting in the driveway worth a few $1,000s. The person who leased 3 full lease cycles somewhere between $42,000 and $48,000 spent no asset, no title, nothing to show except a clean credit history and a preference for new cars every 3 years. Now, I want to be fair here, because the lease case isn't as simple as, you're throwing money away. That phrase gets thrown around a lot and it's not entirely accurate. You're not throwing money away, you're paying for transportation, you're paying for a reliable, warranty-covered vehicle that you don't have to think about, that has real value. There are also situations where leasing genuinely makes financial sense if you use the car for business and can deduct the lease payments. That changes the math significantly. A $320 monthly payment that reduces your taxable income by $3,800 a year is not the same as a $320 monthly payment that doesn't. The tax treatment of a business lease can close, or even reverse, the ownership gap entirely. This is one of the most underrated reasons people in business choose to lease, and it's legitimate if you drive a high-end European car where a single out-of-warranty repair can run $2,000 to $4,000. Staying inside the warranty window permanently has real monetary value. Leasing a luxury vehicle and leasing a mid-range sedan are two completely different conversations. The math shifts when the maintenance costs shift. And if you are genuinely someone who saves the monthly difference, who takes the $250 a month you're not spending on a higher loan payment and puts it into an index fund every single month without fail, then yes, over a long enough timeline, you could theoretically come out ahead or close to even. Investments compound. The math can work. The honest question there is, do you actually do that? Not, would you? In theory, do you? In practice, invest the difference, because most people don't. Most people spend it, and if you spend it, you've lost the one scenario where leasing wins. There's something else worth naming, and it's less about math and more about how this decision actually feels in real life. Leasing removes friction. You never have to deal with a car that's aging. You never have to think about trade-in value, or whether it's worth repairing, or what the car will be worth in 5 years. You just drive, return, repeat. It's frictionless by design. That frictionlessness is part of why people stay in the cycle without ever stepping back to evaluate it. The payment becomes a fixed expense, like a subscription, and like a lot of subscriptions, people rarely stop to ask whether it's worth renewing. It just auto-renews. Buying has friction. There's a point somewhere around year 4 where you look at your car and it's got a dent, and the infotainment screen has a dead pixel, and the paint's fading a little, and you wonder if maybe it's time for something new. That friction is actually useful. It's what forces you to make a conscious decision rather than just sliding into the next lease because it was easy. The person who owns their car and chooses to keep driving it, not because they can't afford a new one, but because the math clearly favors it, is making a different kind of decision. It's quieter. There's no new car smell, but there's also no payment on a Tuesday morning when money is tight. So where does this leave you if you're trying to keep your transportation costs as low as possible over a long period of time? Buying wins not dramatically in the short term, but significantly over 10 years, and very significantly if you repeat the cycle across your life. The people who buy, pay off, and hold tend to spend considerably less on cars across a lifetime than the people who stay in a perpetual lease. If you have a business, drive a high-end vehicle, or genuinely will invest the difference every month, the lease case becomes a real conversation worth having. Don't dismiss it. But if you're leasing a mainstream car, driving close to or over the mileage cap, and spending the savings, you're likely paying more than you would have if you just bought it, not by thousands in year 1, by tens of thousands across a decade. The real issue isn't leasing or buying, it's making a long-term financial decision based on a short-term number. The monthly payment is designed to feel manageable. It's supposed to fit in your budget and feel like no big deal, but a decision that lasts 3, 5, or 10 years deserves more than 30 seconds of math before you sign anything. Ask one question: what is the total cost of this arrangement, from today until I no longer have this car? That number will tell you more than any monthly payment ever will.